guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be doing a review of Laurel Hightower's latest novel, The Day of the Door. I did just get this in a recent Nightworms package. I'm very excited. It had been on my most anticipated reads of 2024 list. Laurel Hightower is one of those authors that I'm trying to really watch as her career is like growing and growing and growing. I was introduced to her about maybe a little over a year ago with her novella Below, which was a Mothman like cryptid West Virginia style novella, and I loved it. But it left me like just really wanting more from her. And then last year I read Silent Key, which was her 2023 release. Not my favorite thing that I've ever read, but I really liked the groundwork that she laid there, and I liked the originality and the haunting that she created. So I was very excited to see what she did with this, which is supposed to sort of be like reality TV meets a haunting, kind of like 13th episode in premise, which I also just read. I'm going to be doing a review on this very, very soon too. Didn't intentionally mean to do like double reality TV back-to-back moments, but they're very, very different, and we're going to talk about them. So I'm going to read the back of the book real quick. Once there were 4 Lasco siblings banded together against a world that failed to protect them. But on a hellish night that marked the end of their childhood, eldest brother Sean died violently after being dragged behind closed doors. Though the official finding was accidental death, Nathan Lasco knows better and has never forgiven their mother, Stella. Now, 2 decades later, Stella promises to finally reveal the truth of what happened on the day of the door. Accompanied by a paranormal investigative team, the Lasco family comes together one final time, but no one is prepared for the revelations waiting for them on the 3rd floor. So, the opening chapter of this book I thought was very, very, very well done. I thought it was atmospheric, I thought it was scary, I thought it was ominous. I thought it was a little confusing as well. But I did think it was very good and very chilling in tone. There is a lot of abuse in this story. This is definitely another one of those horror novels veiled as a metaphor for domestic violence. So definitely just be aware of that. There's a lot of like abuse towards children. It's pretty awful. Stella is a terrible, terrible, terrible person. But I feel like this novel suffered from not being either a novella or longer. I needed it to be one or the other, but the length that it's at, it really just left me wanting more, but allowed me to have more questions because of its length. Like, had it been shorter and a little bit more vague and truncated some of the secondary storylines, I wouldn't have minded as much wanting more, but I felt like at the length that it's at, she kind of lays the groundwork for a lot of stories and concepts that she doesn't fully flesh out, and I needed more of that. This is also a very, very short story, not as in like the actual words, like it's like 200 some pages, but like the actual concept of like the actions that are happening happen over a very, very brief period of time. It's only like 3 days. And I feel like I just really needed more from the actual action and plot of this story to be as invested as our author wanted us to be. I feel like the development on a lot of the characters was really, really minimal too. I felt like so we have Nate, Sean, Katie, and Auri, and why you have Nate, Sean, Katie, and then Ariella, I think was what her full name was. Like, weird name choices. But, just to have like one so like out there. But I felt like their character development wasn't fully fleshed out throughout the entire novel, where they kind of were set up to be certain personality types, but then deviated a lot to fit the narrative. I felt like Katie, especially towards the end, like really goes from 0 to 100, and it's not really explained why or where that came from. Auri, I feel like, was kind of this like kind of airy, like almost like hippie, go with the flow kind of character, and then all of a sudden she became like this very like straightforward, pay your way through your problems kind of character, and it just felt like very contradictory to how she was originally set up or how Nate viewed her. Nate felt again like a very, very static character. He was very much set in his ways. He had his vices, he was aware of his vices, but he didn't really seem to do anything over the course of 3 days to make me realize that he was growing as a person. So I just felt like I needed more from those characters since we have 200 pages to work with. I found Stella to be pretty fleshed out. She is a terrible, terrible, terrible person, and she is a very unlikable character. She is insufferably evil. And I think Laurel Hightower did a really, really, really good job of portraying Stella and making the readers feel the way that Nate and Sean and Katie and Auri did. That being said, Auri's weird choice to kind of stick by her mom and Katie's weird loyalty to her mom, I also felt needed more explanation, because what Laurel Hightower gave us for those two to make those conscious decisions did not make sense to me. Glaring plot holes that I found in this novel, number one being, where is their father? And I just felt like that was something that needed to also be explored more for this story to make sense. And I just don't love how I wanted this to be this paranormal investigative interview ghost hunt style narrative, and that really was kind of not the focus. I really like when we do these kind of epistolary found footage style horror novels. That's why I ended up reading episode 13 afterwards. I think A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay is still the best version of combining horror with like the reality TV concept. I think that it's beautifully done, the production behind it. This just felt very shoddy. And like it was almost like an afterthought, or like a reason to have Stella on a stage, that just adding the, oh, we're gonna film everything, as like an afterthought. And I just didn't love it, and I didn't care too much about Helter. I didn't really like Helter. Gunther was cool, but I felt like he was underutilized as well. So I had a lot of issues with this novel. That being said, I enjoyed reading it. I gave it 4 stars. I gave it 4 stars because I had fun with the concept, and I read it very, very quickly. I feel like as I'm taking a couple days from looking back on it, it's probably going more towards a 3-star read. But I did enjoy actually reading it. I just feel like the more that I remove myself from the book, the more I have questions, and the more I can see where I wish the book had gone more in depth into so many things, and I feel like it would have like hit home so much harder. So yeah, I just also think that there was like a lot of unanswered questions about the haunting. And I like Laurel Hightower because she does really unique takes on hauntings. Again, the ghosts and that whole setup in Silent Key I thought was very, very brilliant. It was a very interesting way to do an imprint haunting. This one, it's just, you can kind of interpret the book a couple different ways, which is great, and that's fun, and it creates a dialogue about the ending. But I just wish that I had a little bit more to go off of. I want my answers of like, what was the ghost? Is the ghost? Is it even like a haunting, or is it something else? And there's a really interesting conclusion at the very, very end with Nathan's psychiatrist. This like cool like kind of revelation, but it just kind of felt like a throwaway line to me about whether there was a haunting or not. There's this like kind of answer that's also a non-answer, and I was just kind of like I get it, but like it's not what I wanted as the conclusion. And then there's this like kind of weird like twist ending that like just doesn't necessarily go where I needed it to. And then there's this kind of like botched moment of forensic science where like a body is exhumed like 20 years later, and they're able to like determine all this like forensic evidence about like the cause of death. And I was just like, I don't think you would be able to get that kind of information after 20 years of deterioration. Like it just didn't make sense to me, and I just was getting really, really nitpicky because I really wanted this book to really impress me, and it didn't live up to the hype that I was giving it. That being said, it was a fine read. It was an interesting read. I liked the atmosphere quite a lot. I really liked some of the scenes where Nathan and his siblings are going through the different bedrooms and the different rooms in their old house. It was very, very atmospheric, and I feel like Laurel Hightower does a really, really good job of creating these ominous, eerie atmospheres and creating fear through a setting. I think she's very, very good at that. Even when I have characters that I find confusing or underwhelming, I find that she's still able to kind of elevate the atmosphere and the setting to put the story forward. Again, Stella, terrible, terrible person. Really, really, really compelling character in that I believed who this person was. She felt like a fully fleshed out villain. She has a lot of like quirks, she has a lot of arrogance, she has a lot of ego, she has a lot of lies, and I was really able to feel like Nate reading about Stella and how evil and just insufferable she is. And I think that was what really was a highlight for me with this novel, is that I could be in our main character's shoes, being like, oh my god, like, no, she's going to do this, like, it's horrible, don't let her do it, and then it happens and you have no control over it because you're the reader and it's already been written. And I loved that effect that this had on me. But she was definitely the scariest part of this story, more so than the haunting, which again kind of goes back to the conclusion at the end, but just kind of stating it I felt was just so on the nose. So I don't know, I will definitely be reading more from Laurel Hightower. I really wanted more from her though, and I feel like that's like a constant thing that I have with her novels, is I read them, I enjoy them for the most part, but then I'm just like, I want more, I want more, I want more. Like, it's right there, like, just give me like a 500-page novel. That's what I think I need from Laurel Hightower. So yeah, 4 stars, definitely leaning more towards like maybe a 3, honestly. But I did enjoy it. I wouldn't discourage anybody from reading it. If you want more of like the kind of paranormal investigator, like reality TV moments, it's in there. It's really not the highlight of the story though, the way that episode 13 is. It's kind of an afterthought in my opinion, but it is there and it'll kind of scratch that itch. So take that as you will. Anyways, that is all that I have for you guys today. As always, I try to post every Monday and Thursday, sometimes on Saturdays. And if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe buttons down below, and I will catch you on the next one.